Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to go to the second method under factorization. The previous one we talked about the common factors. So we're going to talk about the difference of two squares, all right? It's very important that you review the previous videos so that because the subsequent videos will be based on the knowledge of the previous ones, all right? And also, if you've not subscribed, please don't forget to do so and also turn on the notification bell so when I post new videos, you'll be the first person to know. All right, so the difference of two square is basically a method of factorizing used when an algebraic expression include two square terms where one is subtracted from the other. So I'm going to just write it down here. So for those of you that are writing, so that you can have something to write. So the difference of two squares, okay, is a method of factorizing. Okay, so it's a method of factorizing. And the previous video, we talked about common factors, okay? But in this one, we're using the difference of two squares. So it's a method of factorizing used when an algebraic expression, okay? An algebraic expression includes includes two squared terms. So includes two squared terms where one is subtracted from another. Is that okay? So where one is subtracted from the other. Okay, so for example, it's more of like saying a squared minus b squared. So this is what we call a difference of two squares. So for example, you could have something like x squared minus 5 squared, okay? Or you can say x squared minus 3x all squared. Are you seeing it? Or you could be sorry, this all right. Yep, so it's x squared minus, all right, so minus 3 squared, okay? Or we can have 2x all squared minus 4 squared. So all this, you can see, they're all difference of two squares. Is that okay? So you can see that it's a algebraic expression where we have 2 squared, one is subtracted from another. So the expression of this is a squared minus b squared. So when you see the question that is written in this form or could be written in this form, then you know that the question is asking you the difference of two squares. All right, let's go. How do you deal with this kind of question? So the 7 rules, I have 7 rules or 7 steps here. So the first thing is that what you need to do is that you have to write down 2 brackets. Okay, so you write down 2 brackets. So you write down 2 brackets. Then the next thing is that the square roots, then you square root the first term and write it in the left-hand side of both brackets. So that means you have this, you do the square root, all right, of the first term. Square root the first term and write it on the left-hand side of both brackets. Okay, so when you've done that, the third thing to do is then you square root the last term and also write it on the right-hand side, okay? So then you have to do is then you now square root the last term and you write it on the right-hand side. Okay? Or same thing of both what? Brackets. Then what you do, you then put positive in the middle of one bracket, and then you put negative in the middle of the other bracket. Okay? So the order does not matter. All right? So you put a positive. So you put a positive sign, okay, in the middle of one bracket. And you then put a negative sign, okay, in the middle of the other one. Okay. Now the order does not matter. Okay. So the order it comes in does not matter. So you can put the negative first, then you put the positive, or you put it in the other way around. So the order does not matter. Is that right? So the order does not matter. So it's not important. Then after you're done with that, then you rewrite the expression, okay, in a factorization way of the difference of two squares. So that means you then rewrite it, or you rewrite the expression so that it will be clear for people to understand, or if you want to, all right? So then you can say then the rewritten expression, okay, is now the factorization of two squares. Of the difference of two squares. Okay? Then that is when you have that a squared minus b squared, and it gave us a plus b, a minus b. So this rewritten format is now the what they call it is the factorization of the difference of two squares. Is that okay? So as usual, like I told you in the first video in this series, when you move from this point to this point, you expand in the bracket. So you can do the expanding the bracket to check. You expand the bracket. Then when you go from this point to this point, you're what? You're factorizing. Is that okay? So going from this point to this point is the factorizing. Then when you're done with that, so remember, if you're meant to factorize, you just stop at step 5. But usually you'll be asked to solve, okay? So that means you have to go to step 6 and 7. So step 6, what you have to do is then you have to equate the first bracket, all right? So you equate the first bracket, the first bracket could have the positive or negative, and the second bracket separately, okay? And the second bracket, you then equate it separately. So you equate the first bracket and the second bracket separately. So you equate them to be equal to 0, all right? All right, so basically what I'm saying is that when you have the a squared minus b squared, and you now finally got a plus b, and you have a minus b, what we are saying that the next thing is that you have to equate a plus b to be equal to 0, or you also equate a minus b to be equal to 0. So that means you have to equate the first bracket to be 0 and the second bracket to be 0. Then the last thing you then do is that you now simplify, okay? You now simplify and find the value of x. Okay, it could be of X, it could be anything, or basically the variable. And that's how you do it. So these are the 7 rules for that. So the first thing you have to do, you write down the 2 brackets, you put the square root of the first term and put it on the left-hand side. You square root the last term, you put it on the right-hand side. You put positive in the middle of one of the brackets and negative in the middle of the other bracket. Then you rewrite it. Then to solve for it, then you equate the first bracket to be equal to 0. You equate the second bracket to be equal to 0, and you simplify to find X. Okay, let's pick an example. Okay, so let's assume we have X squared minus 9 is equal to 0. And the question said, find for X using the factorization method. So what do? So let's start. We'll start with step 1. So step 1 said we should write down 2 brackets. So we're going to write down 2 brackets. So we have the first bracket and we have the second bracket. Now step 2 said that we should square root the first term and write it in the left-hand side. So we should square root the first term and write it in the left-hand side. So step 2, the first term is x squared. So when you find the square root of x squared, and that will give you what? X. So you're going to write it on the left-hand side. So it's going to be x in the bracket, the left-hand side, x in the other left-hand side. Step 3, we're to do the same thing, but this time we're going to square root the last term and write it on the right-hand side of both brackets. So we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to square root the last term. The last term we have here is 9. Is that okay? So that means 9, the square root of 9 is what? 3. So we're going to write it now. We're going to replicate this bracket. So we have x, we have 3, we have x. We're writing on the right-hand side, 3. Step 4 said that we should put positive in the middle of one bracket and negative in the middle of the other one. The order does not matter. So we'll go to step 4 now. So we have x3, we have x3. So we'll put the positive in the middle of one and we'll put negative in the middle of the other one. Or you can put it the other way around. It could be x minus 3. It could be x plus 3. It does not matter, all right? Then when you're done with that, you go to step 5, okay? So we can rewrite it in the expression. So we can then say, step 5, x squared minus 9 is equal to x minus 3, x plus 3. Now, we're done with this. This is factorization. We're done with the factorization now. But usually the question will ask you to find the value for x, okay? So that's the reason for the step 6 and step 7. Now, for step 6, what you then have to do, 6, for step 6, what do we have to do? We then have to equate the first bracket and the second bracket separately to be equal to 0. So we equate the first bracket. So the first bracket is x minus 3 equal to 0. Second bracket is x plus 3 is equal to what? 0. That's it. Then step 7, you then simplify and find the value of x. So we're going to simplify now, step 7. So it's going to be x minus 3 is equal to 0. I take 3 to the other side, so therefore x is equal to 3. I've gotten the first one. The second one, x plus 3 is equal to 0. I take 3 to the other side, so therefore x will be equal to minus 3. So the answer for this is x is equal to 3 or minus what? 3. Okay, and that is that for that. So we're going to pick another example and to just buttress this. So usually you don't need to go through all the steps. From this point, you can jump to step 5. But because I'm teaching a larger audience, so I'm going to just show all my working and all my thoughts as well, so that you can follow through as well. Okay. So moving on. So we're going to take another example. All right. We'll take another example now, and let's see what we can do. So number 2, let's say we have 81 minus y squared. Now, when you see something like this, you will like, oh, is this difference of 2 squared? So remember the key for it to be a difference of 2 squared, it has to be a squared minus what? B squared. Are you seeing it? So that means you ask yourself, can I break down this equation to look like this? Yes. 81, I can break down 81 to be the same thing as what? 9 squared minus what? Y squared. Are you seeing it? Then it's back to difference of 2 squared. So the key thing you need to remember is that for a difference of 2 squared to be applicable, it has to be the difference between 2 squares. So that means you have a square of the first term subtracting the square of the what? Second term. Is that right? So let's do this now. So we'll do this for the 81 minus y squared. So because this is going to be a difference of 2 squares as well. So let's go. Step 1, we're going to open 2 brackets. So we're going to open 2 brackets. Step 2, we have to find the square root of the first term and put it on the left-hand side. So we're going to have the square root of 81, and that will give us what? 9. Is that okay? Then put it on the left-hand side. So it's going to give us 9 into the bracket, 9 into the bracket. Step 3, we then have to find the square root of the last term, which is y squared. And the square root of y squared is going to give us what? Y. I will put it on the right-hand side. So it's going to give us 9y, 9y. Is that okay? Then step 4, we're meant to put positive in the middle of the first bracket and negative in the middle of the second bracket. So remember I told you the order does not matter. You can put negative first and then put positive. Okay? So we're going to have 9. Put the signs, so it's going to be plus y and 9 minus y. Then when you're done with that, step 5, we need to rewrite the expression or the equation. So we can now say 81 minus y squared is equal to 9 plus y and 9 minus y. So you can see we're done with factorization already. But usually they usually ask you to find for the value of y, all right? So because of that, we'll now go to step 6. Now with step 6 now, we then equate each of the brackets separately to be equal to 0. So we have 9 plus 6 is equal to 0, and 9 minus plus y, I beg your pardon. So 9 plus y is equal to 0. And we also have 9 minus y is equal to what? 0. Are you seeing it? Then step 7, you then simplify them. So we're going to start with the first one. 9 plus y is equal to 0. You take 9 to the other side. So therefore, y will be equal to minus 9. Are you seeing it? The next one is that we have 9 minus y is equal to 0. Okay? Then we take 9 to the other side. So it's going to give us minus y is equal to minus 9. So divide both sides by minus 1. So therefore, y will be equal to what? 9. So that means we have 9, y is equal to 9, and y is equal to what? Minus 9. So therefore, y will be equal to 9 or minus 9. And that will be the answer for that. So picking another example, number 3, we have 36x squared minus 16 equal to 0. So remember the rule, it must be possible for you to square root, all right? So if you can square root the first term and also can square root the second term, then it will we can use the difference of 2 squares. So it's going to be, if you look at this is a classical example. So step 1, okay? So you have to check. So we can, this 36x squared is the same thing as saying 6x squared. Are you seeing it? Minus 16 is what? Same thing as saying 4 squared. Are you seeing it? So you can still see it's still a difference of what? 2 squared. So you can also check if you want to. You have to be sure that the first one is also a squared. You can find the square root to get the squared form. And also the second one, you can find the square root so you can rewrite it as a squared form. So you're going to go now. You're going to have, open up 2 brackets. Step 2. The next thing, you find the square root of the first term, 36x squared, okay? And that will give you 6x. Please go back to the laws of indices. I've discussed this before in the laws of indices. So where I told you where you have I told you a raised to power m, b raised to power n, all raised to power x is equal to a raised to power mx and b raised to power what? Nx. So we can write this as well as 6 squared, that's 36, x squared, all raised to power, square root means what? Half. Can you see? So that will give you 2 times half will give you what? 1. 2 times half will give you 1, and that's why you get 6x. So we've done this in the 12 laws of indices. So it's important that you go back and review the laws of indices. It's basically the same thing here, all right? So having that out now from the way, so we can now continue what we're doing. So we have it, we'll put it in the left-hand side. So remember we said the first term is going to be in the left-hand side. So it's going to be 6x and 6x. Step 3, we do the same thing for step 3. Square root of what? 16, and that will give us what? 4. And you put it on the what? The right-hand side to give you 6x and 4. Now step 4, okay? Step 4 is that you now put positive in the middle for the first one and negative for the second one. So like I said, the order does not what? Matter. So you can start with negative, then you put what? Positive. Then step 5, okay? What you then do is that you now write the expression. So 36x squared minus 16 is equal to 6x plus 4 and 6x minus what? 4. So usually you can stop here, but normally the question will want you to solve, okay? So then step 6, you then have to equate each of this bracket to be equal to what? 0. So you're going to have 6x plus 4 is equal to 0. And the second bracket, 6x minus 4 is equal to 0. Then the next one we're going to have is step 7, where you then have to solve each and every one of them. So we're going to have 6x plus 4 equal to 0. Take 4 to the other side. So it's going to be 6x is equal to minus 4. Then you divide both sides by 6. Then x is going to give you minus 2 over 3. Okay? Then that's the first answer we have. The same thing, we'll solve for the second one. We have 6x minus 4 is equal to 0. You take 4 to the other side, so it's going to give us 6x is equal to 4. Divide both sides by 6. Then x is going to be what? 2 over 3. So x is 2 over 3. So therefore now we can now solve this. So that means therefore x is equal to minus 2 over 3 or 2 over 3. That will be the answer for that. Okay, let me just pick one more example for this, okay? I'm going to just write the question here, all right? So that'll be number 4. We have 4x squared minus 81y squared. Okay, so you can pause the video and see if you can solve that. And you can try it, okay? So normally when you've done that, you should get an answer about 2x minus 9y plus or minus, okay? So let's see. Let's start with the first one. So step 1, we're going to open the 2 brackets. Step 2, we then have to find the square root of 4x squared. And based on the laws of indices, that will give you 2x, okay? Please make sure you've watched the videos on the 12 laws of indices and solve that. Then you put this on the left-hand side, so that'll be 2x into brackets, and we have 2x into brackets. Step 3, then we'll do the same thing for 81, the square root of 81y squared, and that will give us what? 9y, okay? Then you put it into the bracket, so it's going to be 2x, 9y, and you have 2x, 9y. Step 4, You then have to add a positive and negative sign. Okay, so it's going to be 2x plus 9y, and you have 2x minus 9y. Okay, then step 5, you then have to rewrite it. So that means you can now have 84x squared minus 81y squared is equal to 2x plus 9y and 2x minus 9y. So like I told you, the factorization is done here, okay? So, but usually they will ask you to find for the value. In case they ask you, then you have to then equate it to be equal to 0. So that means step 6, you then have 2x plus 9y is equal to 0, or we have 2x minus 9y is equal to 0. So we can solve this. You take 9y, that's step 7. Okay, so step 7, let's write step 7 here. So we have 2x, playing this. So we have step 7. So we have 2x plus 9y is equal to 0. Take this to the other side. So you have 2x is equal to minus 9y. Divide both sides by 2. So therefore, x is going to be minus 9 over 2y. Okay? Then you also have 2x minus 9y. So you got in the first value for your x. Is equal to 0. So you take 9y to the other side. So it's going to be 2x is equal to 9y divided by 2. So x is going to be 9 over 2y. 9 over 2y. So that means we can now get the answer for this. And we can now say the answer for x. So therefore, I'll use another color to just show the difference. So x is equal to minus 9 over 2y, or 9 over 2y. And that will be the answer for that. All right. So that is that for that. We'll now go to the next one where we'll talk about trinomials. All right. So remember, in factorization, we have 4 methods. We had common factors. That was the last video. Now, this video, we talked about the difference of 2 squares. So the next video now I'm going to talk about will be trinomials, where we have 2 types when a is equal to 1 and a is not equal to 1. All right. So if you have any question, please feel free to send me an email, or you can drop me a comment, or you can send me a message, or you can stop me anytime and I'll answer you. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first person to know. All right, so I'll see you soon, and I'll see you in the next video.